Welcome back. With the selection of Kamala Harris to be vice president, Democrats see an opportunity to capture a growing share of the Caribbean American vote in Florida. Harris's father was born in Jamaica. Not long after Joe Biden selected Harris, the campaign reached out to Marlon Hill, a Democratic activist who was born in Jamaica and is the past president of the Caribbean Bar Association. Hill ended up interviewing Harris for one of the popular Caribbean radio stations. I spoke to Hill about that interview, but we started by talking about the importance of the Caribbean American vote in this year's election.
Well, in the state of Florida, where we have well over 19 million people, very dynamic, multicultural state, our population continues to rise. The Caribbean American population is part of these growing racial and ethnic segments that are within the state of Florida. So whether you're in South Florida, Jim, or you're in Central Florida, the Caribbean American community, multilingual, multiracial, those numbers continue to grow both in South Florida on the I-4 corridor or even in West Florida as well.
Do we have a sense for how many eligible Caribbean American voters there are in Florida, and particularly South Florida?
You know, from the 2000 census, the 2010 census, and now we're working on the 2020 census, the numbers continue to grow. It's well over, conservatively, 600, 700,000 persons across the state, and Jamaicans and Haitians and other West Indians continue to drive those numbers. And we're speaking basically of the non-Hispanic Caribbean voters, but Jamaicans and Haitians continue to drive those numbers. Haitians primarily in Miami-Dade County and increasingly in Palm Beach. Jamaicans tend to be, the numbers are higher in Broward County, but the numbers are also evident in Miami-Dade and across the I-4 corridor as well.
Is there an opening here for the Democratic Party, particularly because Kamala Harris is on the ballot? You know, she partly is, her background is Caribbean as well as Indian. So does that play a role here? Are you sensing something different moving in this year's election?
There's a definite excitement as it relates to the Biden-Harris ticket. Joe Biden was very smart to pick her as a running mate, not just for her personal background, but also the skill sets that she brings to the table as a sharp, brilliant woman, a fighting spirit. That's definitely her Jamaican background through her dad and her Indian background through her mom identifies and connects with many Americans. There are many Americans that have this type of multicultural history. And you have to remember, Jim, being Black in America in 2020 has different levels. Blackness is not singular in America these days, right? We have persons that speak Spanish who are Black, persons who speak Creole who are Black, persons who are Catholic who are Black, persons who are Muslim who are Black. And sometimes we tend to drop each other, including you as a person who's white, into little boxes and try to define who we are. And in a state like Florida, you and I know, we are ground zero for electoral drama. Every presidential election is won or lost by 1%. And that 1% could make a difference. That could come from a tsunami of voters from Haiti or a tsunami of voters from Jamaica and the broader Caribbean diaspora as well. And for folks who just identify with who she is and what she stands for, beyond who the candidates are, we also have to look at the issues that they also support that may drive the interests and the values of the voters going to the polls starting next week.
And I want to talk to you about those issues in a second, but I know you had the opportunity to interview her. Talk to me a little bit about how that came about. And I thought it was very smart on the part of the Biden-Harris campaign to connect with you and to sort of explore this opportunity that is very clearly present for them.
Yeah, and certainly we have to, all the candidates and the parties need to find a way to connect to voters. Certainly the opportunity to interview her on radio, where many Caribbean voters actually get their information on these brokered radio stations, both in English and Creole. That's where They get most of their news as opposed to TV or some other sources. But it was a good opportunity, Jim, really just to kind of get to know her the person, as to her connection to the Caribbean Jamaican community, as simple things as to the type of food that you eat and the music that you're listening to and what your family connection is with her dad. Even though her parents were separated and divorced when she was younger, you have to really recognize a person's family history always is with you, irrespective of how perfect or imperfect it is, right? You know,
well,
so I think it was
even
important.
how you greeted each other at the beginning of your interview, you know, right. show us and talk about that for a second.
Well, you know, in the state of Florida here, you know, we have different, not only different languages, we have different accents and dialects that in the way we greet each other, you know, wagwan, how you doing, massive, and how things, you know, sak passe, you know, these are things that even in, you know, regular American vernacular and parlance, we have these little things of how we connect to each other, and people recognize those little nuances.
And how was she? Was she talking the talk?
She was talking the talk, yeah, man. You know, we had to test her. You know, we had to test her. We also had to test whether or not, you know, she tends to be fashions herself as someone who is in the kitchen quite a bit. One of the fun things she likes to do. So I wanted to find out, you know, what type of Jamaican food that she likes, and she likes oxtails, which is very important. If you go to any local Jamaican restaurant here in the state of Florida, you can definitely find oxtail on the menu. So she passed that test. But I think it would be great. There is an opportunity for her to get that part of the electorate very excited, and especially in a state like, in a county like Broward, where it's ground zero for the Democratic Party. And you can tell from those numbers from 2016 or even 2012, if you can get an additional 3%, 5%, 4% in those counties, or in a growing county like Orlando, that is also has a growing Caribbean population, Jamaicans, Haitians, and Puerto Ricans. If you can get some more points there, it can offset some of the gains that President Trump may have in the other smaller counties across the state. So, you know, Florida is not the place to sleep on.
Well, and as you pointed out rightfully before, you know, that connection is important, but more than just having a connection, if you're not talking the issues that resonate within the community as well, you can't just expect their vote. You can't just take their vote for granted. I remember in 2016 when Donald Trump made a very strong play for particularly the Haitian American community, coming to Palm Beach, coming to South Florida. And specifically, I think one of the things he did, which was smart at the time, was appealing to Haitian American community for their entrepreneurial sense, their ability to come to the United States and start businesses. And that's true throughout the Caribbean community. Folks who come here, start restaurants, start other things, where they're able to have a business, you know, and he spoke to that. And I think that did resonate for them. Now, of course, he counters that when he ends up talking about S-hole countries and other problems like that. He loses them there. But for the Caribbean American community, what are the major issues? And they're not monolithic, I realize. But talk a little bit about what are the things they care about.
Yeah, for example, you know, being able to take care of your family as it relates to healthcare and education. You know, your children are your most treasured assets, and being able for them to access public education is very important. Healthcare. When was the last time that you went to a hospital or a clinic, Jim, and did not meet a nurse that was Haitian or Jamaican, right? There are a number of also Haitian and Jamaican doctors that are very involved proportionately to their number of in the general population in the healthcare industry. So access to affordable healthcare is something that's important to the community. You are correct that there are a number of small businesses and entrepreneurs within the Caribbean West Indian community as well. So they want to know, how are we going to recover and weather from this storm from COVID-19? But they also care about being treated equitably and fairly in our judicial system, criminal justice, access to more opportunities for contract opportunities from local government for their small businesses. These issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion speak directly to the Caribbean West Indian community, whether they speak whatever language they speak as well. So those are some of the top line issues. And there are also social issues as well that may be appealing to both sides that people need to pay attention to in terms of large numbers of Caribbeans being different Christian denominations. When you look at the margins, at the end of the day, folks are going to be asking, okay, where can I get an additional 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 votes and then magnify that? How am I going to do that? The Democratic Party certainly must make greater investments in terms of outreach on radio and the digital assets, and that is ongoing and likely to be magnified over the next few weeks. And in a state that is going to be fighting for these 29 electoral votes, and I had the pleasure of serving as one of those 29 electors in 2008. I do know that this time around, as the numbers in the census goes up, where people self-identify as being African American but Jamaican, Asian but from Trinidad and Tobago, or African American and Haitian, right? Those self-identifying factors, those tabs, you're not going to see in the general polls, whether it be from Rasmussen or any of the Quinnipiac. Any of these polls are not recognizing the tabs of the layers of what it means to be Black, or what it means to be Asian, or the language that you speak, the music that you listen to, the food that you eat. These tabs count for something in the state of Florida. Do you like Maduros or do you like Mofongo? That, these things matter when it comes down to those extra margin of points at the polls.
We'll be right back.